what, the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Put that coffee down.
I'm a British nanny, and I'm dangerous.
It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
That was totally wicked!
It's the Al Travis Show. We're lucky to have our next guest on. She's Representative Pam Altendorf. Representative, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Al.
No, it's our pleasure. You're in the mix of it, so I really appreciate you taking time out. You're from the Fridley area, is that correct?
Sorry, it's Red Wing. I'm
Red Wing, okay.
Southeast Minnesota, yep.
Okay, fair enough. Red Wing, and I appreciate you again taking the time to be here. You're up at the Capitol now. You're the first week in. Can you tell us how you think the session's gone so far?
Yeah, I have to tell everyone, if you had high expectations of us being productive in St. Paul, this is my little saying of what's going to happen, and I think we're seeing it play out, but it's going to be high theater and low productivity. With 2026 being an election year, everyone's on the ballot, from the governor to everyone in the Senate to everyone in the House. It is turning into political theater, which is disappointing. I think Minnesotans would actually like to see us get something done. And address problems like the rampant fraud across the state, but instead we're choosing theater.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I would agree with you 100%. I don't think most Minnesotans are going to cut anybody any slack with this fraud thing. And the idea that, well, we didn't get anything done because it's an election year. I don't see people swallowing that very well, Representative. And I'm not blaming you, but I think Minnesotans are tired of this. We'll get into it in a second. What I find interesting, and so thankful that you're coming on the show for us, is the federal government has been asking for our voter rolls for, I don't know, a year now, whatever it's been. We've, I think, even sued them not to give it to them, but we have not. Steve Simon, the Secretary of State, has not handed those over. Now, you, I love your moxie, by the way, love your moxie. You do happen to sit on, what is that board? I have it here, Elections, Finance, and Government Operations. So you're on the committee that kind of oversees all that. So what do? You went out and said, well, give them to me then, and they did? Tell us the story.
Correct. So I am the vice chair of the elections committee. Now, remember, in the House, we're tied, so I'm a co-vice chair of the elections committee. However, ever since I ran, elections is number one priority to me. And if we don't have elections right, I just believe nothing else matters. So I'm very passionate about this. And yes, after the DOJ was denied the voter rolls and Steve Simon basically cited that the federal government doesn't have the right to that rolls, well, I found a statute. It's Minnesota Statute 201.091, and it says any public official, so I am obviously a public elected official, for the purposes of election administration, which we are writing laws for election administration, has the right to the voter rolls. So I just tested this out, and again, I didn't know what to expect. What we did is we sent it to two red counties, two blue counties. We just kind of took a sampling to see if they would actually comply to the state statute. That's very clear. And so just to correct something, all four counties did not comply.
Oh, all right.
If a county would comply, we thought it would be like Wright County, which is a very strong Republican county, thinking that maybe it's a conservative county auditor, and that they would do the right thing. But what happened is 2 days after I put out my request, the Secretary of State, and this is the story that really, I don't know if it's gotten lost, but the Secretary of State, Steve Simon, put out a directive to all 87 counties, told them a state legislator was looking for this information, and then he redefined the master list to be 3 fields, which would be name, address, and birth date. Now, to put that into context, that is less information that the Secretary of State was directing the 87 counties to give me, then if I would go to the Secretary of State office and get that voter information, it is less. So that is definitely a slap in the face. And I just, if we could just step back for a second, but if the roles were reversed and this was a Republican Secretary of State and a Democrat asking for the information to verify our voter rolls, I just can't believe that they would find this to be okay.
Let's take baby steps here, because I've been saying this for a while, especially with the DOJ wanting our voter rolls. What is in a voter roll that the government doesn't already have? They know my name, they know my address, because I get filed taxes. Here's my address. They know my birth date. They gave me my Social Security number. What is it that's in a voter roll that the government doesn't already have?
Absolutely nothing. It's a distraction. And, the Trump administration, kudos to him. We're seeing through the Doge efforts of Elon Musk, there's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in the whole government. And frankly, we have done a terrible job of our systems, of maintaining our data. So, for example, like in the SNAP program, in the states that complied, there are 500,000 duplicate people getting benefits twice. There is 186,000 people who are dead, and we're getting SNAP benefits. Okay, so that's the SNAP rolls. Now imagine the voter rolls, and there's no difference. If this is happening in the red states, which we're clearly seeing that there's duplications, there's people who are dead who are still receiving benefits, and we're seeing that in the red states. Of course it's happening in the blue states, but the blue states are refusing to comply and to help, in this case, clean up our voter rolls.
When you say clean them up, so if you're just getting information that we already have, there must be something else in the voter roll. Does it tell you how often I voted, when I voted last? What is the information you can glean off a voter roll if it's just not name, address, phone number, and my Social Security number?
And I wasn't asking for Social Security number, but
Okay.
what we're looking for is duplicate voters. We're looking for two voter IDs, same name, same address, which we are seeing. And again, I need to go back, but out of the four counties I asked, Hennepin County, the least likely county that we thought would comply, did give me this information. Now, as a state legislator, I can look at this and analyze this information. I am not giving it to anyone, but I can report, as long as I'm not identifying a specific voter, I can report on what am I seeing in this information that's concerning. And it's things like duplicate voters. We also would like to look at dead voter, like people who are still on the list, who potentially are dead. And we know this has happened. I hear stories all the time from even my own constituents of someone passed away in their family and they're still listed on the voter rolls. So we're not cleaning up our rolls.
Out of Hennepin County. Hennepin County gives you their voter rolls. Can you tell us roughly the number of people that were enrolled?
So we have 830,000 active voters. It's over on the Hennepin County voter list. Out of that, nearly 8,000 of the 830,000 are marked as challenged. So their voter status is challenged. And that means specifically that something was wrong. They're missing a key part of their name, address, birth date. Something serious was wrong. And what happens in Minnesota is we send out a postcard and the voter is supposed to correct what is missing and send the postcard back. If they don't, they're marked challenge. Now, of course, the Democrats go, well, this is all just okay, and they would catch this in the voting, like when the next time that person comes to vote, they'd be flagged as a challenge voter. But I have testimonies of judges in the precincts that are not doing these simple things. So again, it's concerning. We are just 6 months away from our next election, or 8 months, and we have this many challenged people in one county.
And when you think challenge in the ballots, here we don't have provisional ballots, and maybe folks don't understand what I'm talking about. So let's say 8,000 people show up to Hennepin County and they're challenged. There's something wrong the last time you did this, name, address, whatever it is, and we'd like to figure it out. The problem is, you show up, but I still want to vote. Okay, challenged, fill your ballot out, put it in the machine, and it's in there. We'll check this out later. Later comes and you find out you're not allowed to vote. There's a reason that was challenged. You can't get that person's ballot out, right? They just take one off the top. You could be not allowed to vote, and they pull my ballot out. That's the problem with the system, is it's reactionary, not proactive. So what is it you can get done? I mean, there are 8,000 folks.
So the problem is in Minnesota, one of the problems is we are one of only 3 states that do not have provisional ballots. And so again, someone shows up, they want to vote. Judges are really warned and scared against challenging people because they don't want to look like they're discriminating against voters. So these ballots get counted, they go through the machine. Other states have a system where it's called provisional ballots. They would verify later, and they have a mechanism to not count that vote. Minnesota does not have that. And so all of these laws that the Democrats passed in 2023, we have, for one person, they can vouch up to 8 other people. In 2023, Democrats made that you don't even need to have an address. So you could say, I live on a bench under a bridge. And I'm not joking, that actually passed with the 2023 Democrat trifecta. And so all they've done is loosen up our election laws, make them more questionable. And all we want, this is not too much to ask, is we want to verify who is on the voter rolls, that they are of legal age, that they're alive, and that they're not voting more than one time. That's not too much to ask. And Steve Simon is denying me, a Republican sitting on the elections committee, the ability to verify our voter rolls are clean.
Is there a way to make sure they're clean? How do I put this? First, we now give driver's license to anybody in the state. There's an issue. I'm also in the impression that when you sign up for a driver's license, 16-year-old children, they go get their first, you're automatically enrolled, right? You're already put in the machine, the mechanism, just because you've got a card, a driver's license. And that's not how that works. Can you separate them? How do you do that?
Correct. I mean, these are all issues with illegal immigrants getting the vote, the driver's license for all. So this was a big priority, again, during the Democrat trifecta. We worked very hard to get an amendment added that there's something on that driver's license that distinguishes them differently. And even in the state California, there is a marking that says, not for not a citizen or can't vote, something like that. And the Minnesota Democrats absolutely refuse. And there is a reason why they're obviously refusing these common sense amendments. They want a driver's license for all. What it does is it adds all of these people, and they say, well, it would be illegal for them to vote. Well, yeah, it would, but also possibly they don't know that, right? And so there's a lot of issues with it.
Well, there's a testing to yourself that I attest I'm a citizen. We could use that with my taxes, right? I fill my taxes out, I sign it, this is all good. I know it's good, I did it the best of my ability. We wouldn't need a Minnesota Department of Revenue then, because they could just trust me that I did it right, because I'm good. I have got to go to break. I'll leave you this on the way on the other side. If Steve Simon knows that our rolls are pure as the driven snow, why wouldn't you want the federal government to have it so that Donald Trump comes out and says these are clean as the driven snow, and the other 49 states could copy how great we're doing? I'm not sure why we're hiding our greatness. We'll talk about that with Representative Pam Altendorf right after the break.
You need a friend at the Capitol who knows how to get things done.
And you're in luck, because that's exactly who we are, your friends at the Capitol, and we deliver results.
At Momentum Advocacy, we bring decades of experience in lobbying, public affairs, and crisis communications.
From local nonprofits to national corporations, we help you move policy, manage your media, and make your voice heard.
We're not just seasoned pros, we're essential partners.
Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol. Learn more at momentum-advocacy.com.
Think about it. A famous politician once said, "You're entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts." But in a world full of AI and fake news, where can Minnesotans find the facts? Center of the American Experiment is Minnesota's go-to source for fact-based analysis and common sense solutions for taxes, energy, public safety, and our kids' education. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
talk amongst friends. The Al Travis Show. Nothing but talk.
And we've got a Representative Pam Altendorf on talking about our voter rolls. I'm roughly 800,000 voters rolls you've been able to see. 8,000 roughly are not good or are challenged. Well, that's 1%. And many people say that doesn't seem like much, but I'm under the impression Al Franken won his Senate seat in Minnesota by 350 votes, right? I mean, so it does make a difference. There should be some way of keeping an eye on it. Now, I left you with the question, and this is where we started. What is it the federal government could get from our voter rolls that they don't already have? Can you explain to me why Steve Simon will not give up our voter rolls?
Well, you made a great point right before the break, and that is that there's no reason to not let them see our voter rolls. The federal government obviously does not have any, and there's no information that they're going to see in the voter rolls that they don't already have. So it's a ridiculous argument, but that's what they're clinging to right now, just to prevent this from happening.
So what is the next step then? You're showing, just without even trying, I don't mean to diminish what you've done, but with one county, you're seeing 1% problem rate. Is that enough to get your partners in crime, your other representatives, your senators, to say we need to make a rule, we need to get this passed, with the governor sign it anyway? Are you fighting windmills?
Well, I think there's a couple things that are happening, right? So the DOJ is suing the Minnesota, which is unfortunate because the state of Minnesota, we're continuing to put money into lawsuits that shouldn't be happening. But the DOJ is suing Steve Simon for this voter roll information. And basically what I am doing is publicly, telling some of my concerns, and that should help assist the DOJ in their lawsuit to get the rolls. Now, the one thing that the Democrats always say is, there's no voter fraud, right? But then when we show a problem, they go, oh, but that's not enough to change an election, right? When we're starting to find nearly 8,000 or more questionable voters, and believe me, there's going to be more. We're going to keep on pulling information. We've been very busy, so we will continue to pull information and put it out there to the public. But now we're talking about numbers that could swing races. Absolutely, Al. These are numbers that could swing races.
Any chance then this gets figured out, because the courts are slow and nothing moves faster than this fine government ours, that this could be figured out before the next election, like you say, 8 months from now?
I think what we're, and again, to all the Minnesotans out there, I know this has been a very frustrating to see the fraud and everything happening in the state. It's very frustrating. I just want to give you some encouragement, tell you to hang on. We're working hard, even though the Minnesota media, the mainstream, doesn't always report it. We are working hard for the Minnesotans, and I'm going to call this a year of an exposure, a year of revelation. We're probably going to continue to see things that's going to shock the public. But it has to happen in order for us to clean up the mess here in Minnesota. There is, at the federal level, they're working on the SAVE Act. I do believe that by the time we get to November, with the Trump administration, this is my prediction. I mean, it is what it is. But by the time we get to November, Minnesota Republicans are going to be very confident in their vote by what's happening at the federal level. That is my guess. That is my prediction. And then Republicans need to get out in masses to vote out this corruption in Minnesota this year.
Representative Pam Altendorf, I thank you so much for your time, the energy, the things you're doing. Light is a great disinfectant. Shine the light on it. If it can stick up for itself, we're going to be fine. I got to fly. I'm out of time. Thank you very much, Representative, for coming on the program. I do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Al.